Unlike most Disney villains who are aware of their cruel tendencies or who love being evil, Judge Claude Frollo believes he is a good man. Frollo is self-righteous, convinced he is above sin, and purer than the common, vulgar, weak, licentious crowd. As the Minister of Justice, he attempts to act in the name of God, so when he begins to find temptation, he is tortured by his own evil, even though he has committed so many sins himself. Judge Frollo is genocidal, murderous, sexually aggressive, and is willing to burn Paris to the ground to cleanse the world of the unholy, making him one of the darkest, yet most realistic, villains Disney has ever manifested. Hello, I'm Isaac from Whatso Videos, where we discuss fun topics for fun people, and today we are discussing how lust and religion led to the unraveling of Claude Frollo. Frollo was very different in Victor Hugo's original The Hunchback of Notre Dame novel, for he was far more compassionate, caring, and tragic, as well as considerably less villainous. As the Archdeacon of Notre Dame in the original novel, he took Quasimodo in willingly when his mother abandoned him, instead of being the one to murder her on the steps of Notre Dame. In the novel, Frollo took care of Quasimodo as if he was his own son, seeing through him naming the boy Quasimodo after Quasimodo's Sunday instead of his disfigurement, and he even assisted Quasimodo's development of some sort of sign language after the boy became deaf from being the bell ringer. As the Minister of Justice in the Disney version, he is much more cruel. When we first come into contact with Frollo, he is hunting a group of gypsies attempting to enter Paris illegally. Frollo commands his guards to arrest them, but the mother of Quasimodo is unwilling to give up her child to Frollo. She runs, but when the judge finds her, he forces her down and she cracks her head on the stairs. After Frollo realizes the goods she carried is actually a deformed child, he plans to drown the child in a well, but the Archdeacon reprimands him for his actions. Frollo believes himself to be a purer human than the rest, but in that moment he saw the saints of the past staring in contempt at his actions, so he feels forced to care for the boy. He places Quasimodo within the bell tower and raises the boy as his servant and teaches him he is ugly and unworthy for the outside world for 20 years. During those 2 decades, Judge Claude Frollo longed to purge the gypsy population, for he believed them to be full of sin and unholy people, so he called the soldier Phoebus to become the new captain of the guards after his previous one disappointed him. Although he was terribly cruel and feared, he begins to unravel and become irrational after his attendance to the annual Festival of Fools. Of course, Frollo is furious Quasimodo disobeyed him and left the bell tower, but he feels the festival is really ruined by the beautiful gypsy Esmeralda, who defies him. Quasimodo was being tortured and ridiculed by the town, but Esmeralda was unwilling to allow the atrocities to continue. When Frollo put his men on her, she disappears, leading him to conclude she was a witch. She hides within Notre Dame, pleading sanctuary, but Frollo promises he will gain the opportunity to murder her, and he begins to reveal his sexual longing for her. That night, Claude Frollo is tormented by the lust he feels for the gypsy girl Esmeralda. As he sings of his misfortunes, we learn Frollo's desire for Esmeralda is causing a deep sense of shame in him and hatred towards her. When the large-hearted figures of his subconscious come for his repentance, Frollo blames his own lust for Esmeralda on her witchcraft and the devil, rather than accept that he himself is prone to sin, showing he still believes himself to be more righteous than a normal man. He's torn by his need to have her as his own while remaining a holy man. As his song escalates, Frollo feels to stay a religious man, he must destroy the temptation of Esmeralda, since Esmeralda reflects everything Frollo hates about himself. To end his sliver of sin and humanity he sees within, he must escalate his goals to any means, which is how he justifies burning down all of Paris for her. Much like in the original novel, Frollo only becomes a large villainous threat when he is driven mad by his lust for Esmeralda. He begins to send out a manhunt on Esmeralda and threatens any and all families who he believes to interact or house gypsies. To find Esmeralda's hideout in the Court of Miracles, the judge lies to Quasimodo that they have already located the court and he will be ambushing them at the break of dawn, so Quasi foolishly goes to Esmeralda with Frollo's guards following behind. Frollo arrests the gypsies and sets Esmeralda to die outside Notre Dame. He offers to save her from immolation if she chooses him instead, but she decides to die a fiery death. Quasimodo refuses to allow Frollo to kill the first person who ever cared for him, so he rescues Esmeralda from the fire. To end this conflict, Frollo confronts Quasimodo, ready to end his life, but Quasi is not willing to die by his master's hand and attempts to flee to save Esmeralda. Frollo seems to be close to finally ending his temptation, torment, and sin when he hangs above Quasimodo with a sword, ready to cast them into the fires of hell, but the gargoyle he stands on begins to crack, sending him off of Notre Dame. As he falls, he clings onto the statue of a demon's face, which comes to life and roars at Frollo, and he descends into the molten metal down below, symbolizing Frollo's soul's eternal damnation in the satanic fires of hell to pay for his actions, which finally ends his tyranny once and for all. Frollo is a villain who is twisted, confused, and tormented by his dark thoughts. While other villains are evil to be evil, Frollo stands as someone convinced they are doing good and are acting as a righteous being. We see his motivation and what matters to him, allowing us to witness his humanity amongst his atrocious acts. Frollo's scorn of the gypsies and dedication to the elimination of sin drives him to demented behavior, but his lust for Esmeralda brings him to destroy the city and himself.
This video was sponsored by my patrons over at Patreon. Patreon is a voluntary pledge service where you can support creators like me while also earning exclusive rewards. If you are interested in donating to help grow the channel, check out the page at patreon.com/WatsoVideos.
If you'd like to continue to learn about Judge Claude Frollo, then I'll leave the links to his movies and the resources I used in the description of this video. So now it's time for your thoughts. Who do you think is the darkest Disney villain? Let me know in the comment section along with any other ideas you have for future Discovering Disney episodes. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more like it, then remember to subscribe to WatsoVideos and click the bell if you'd like to be notified when I post. Thanks for watching, and have a magical day.